Coming up on Inside the NRL, Operation Relocation. We tell you everything you need to know as the NRL heads to southeast Queensland to save the season. Blues legend and Rugby League awful Andrew Johns joins us as we preview State of Origin 3 and Mitch Moses counts down to his debut. Plus, Paul Green hits back at critics questioning Queensland's culture.
When we get results that we've gotten so far, you leave yourself open.
And was Sam Walker arrogant or smart for fleeing the scene on Saturday night? Yes, there's plenty going on in the world of rugby league right now. Hello and welcome to Inside the NRL. I'm Zac Bailey, joined by Jamie Soward and Michael Chammas. So much to get through. To all of our viewers at home, thank you for joining us as the game undertakes its biggest logistical exercise ever in the history of the game. The unfolding COVID-19 situation in Sydney has forced the game to relocate 12 teams to southeast Queensland in order to save the 2021 season. This is everything you need to know. All New South Wales and ACT-based teams will relocate to southeast Queensland. By Wednesday, teams will be playing matches out of Suncorp Stadium, Cbus Super Stadium and Sunshine Coast Stadium. The Broncos, Titans, Cowboys and Storm will continue to play games out of their current home grounds. Every club is allowed to have a maximum of 41 players and staff, while in Queensland this will be the case for at least the next 4 weeks. Now, there are unfolding details, or there have been over the past 24 hours since this has been announced. Michael, you've had all the details across the Sydney Morning Herald. Headmaster, what's the latest in terms of the hubs?
Yeah, so the teams are all planning to go by Wednesday, and they've been split up into the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast and into Brisbane, and we'll see where the teams are all going. The Sunshine Coast, the Panthers are heading there with the Knights, Sea Eagles and the Roosters. That's at the Novotel Twin Waters, where the Melbourne Storm stayed there alongside 3 AFL teams last year and had great success in winning the competition. The Gold Coast, the majority of, 5 teams, the most of any of the groups there, with the Dogs, Eels, Rabbitohs, Raiders and Warriors, all on the Gold Coast, the Mercure at Carrara, and then Brisbane will host the Dragons, Sharks, Tigers at the Novotel in the South Bank. So that's the split. Will be interesting to see how they all get along over the course of at least the next month, Zach.
All right, from those hubs, is there any advantage to a particular hub, Gold Coast, Brisbane or the Sunny Coast?
Look, from looking at that, speaking to people yesterday, the one they wanted was the Sunshine Coast. That was probably the facility there that probably more conducive to high performance. You're on a resort, you can relax, and as we know, the families hopefully are going to be going up as well, so they can enjoy their time up there and wind down as well away from football. Brisbane, you're in a hotel in the city at South Bank there. It may, what you can and can't do outside the hotel may be restricted. Hopefully, though, once the 14-day quarantine period is over, the players will be able to roam freely if there are no cases in Queensland during that period.
It's a fair, big measure that the game's undertaking.
Yeah, it is, but the players are still getting paid full freight to do their job. I understand that there's some adversity, but there's a lot of people out there doing it a lot worse, small business owners and the like. But you have a look at that. When COVID struck last year, I came out and said that the teams with the strongest culture were going to be successful. That was Melbourne, Penrith, the Roosters, they all went deep into the competition. It's going to be the exact same for the next 4 weeks. You have a look at those hubs again and you think about Penrith, where they are at the moment, nothing's going to derail them trying to get back to a grand final. Melbourne have been doing it, so they're going to be fine. The Roosters, Souths, they're built for this because they've got leaders there, they've got a strong culture. Some of the other clubs, whether they're, once the season starts to dwindle away, what's that going to look like over the next 4 weeks? And some of their fate's already decided, so hopefully they're on their best behaviour.
All right, NRL CEO Andrew Abdo addressed the media earlier today talking about moving the NRL to southeast Queensland for at least the next month.
This will be definitely our biggest logistical operation and challenge that the game has faced. The spirit of cooperation and the positive attitude to doing something enormous as this was really there for everyone to see. And I think everyone is 100% committed to making this work. There is a possibility that the remainder of the season is played like we are at the moment, but we are hopeful that it's at the end of the 4-week period, we might be able to transition back to New South Wales and ACT. it is somewhat linked to obviously the infection rate. It's also linked to restrictions, and it's also linked to exemptions that we might be able to obtain from other state governments too. So we are currently working with the 12 clubs on which direct family members would like to opt in to go. We're working concurrently with the Queensland government on how the exemption and the quarantining process will work. We want to fast track that if possible. We want to get families up in Queensland at the hotels as soon as possible. There's a huge challenge ahead of us, and we will certainly want to play our part in making sure that we get as many people vaccinated as possible. And that includes obviously our players, but those conversations need to happen at a federal government level, and we certainly are not going to be putting or asking to be put ahead of the queue. There's a plan in place, and we want to proactively and positively be part of that plan of getting our country vaccinated.
That was NRL CEO Andrew Abdo. Michael, 8 regular season rounds remaining, 4 weeks of finals. Realistically, do we fear or do we feel as if the rest of the competition will be in Queensland?
I've spoken to a lot of clubs today and yesterday in regards to what they're planning for. They're all planning for not coming back to Sydney. They are planning, especially the top teams, this is a 3-month adventure that they're heading out on now, and they don't plan on coming back. They're assuming the grand final will be played interstate, Brisbane, Melbourne, wherever it may be. So that's your indication of where they're at. Now, realistically, the NRL said this is at least a month. They're breaking this down into 30-day little sections. The first 30 days we know is going to be there. The next 30 days will be dependent on the infection rate in New South Wales. Now, the hint to the clubs is unless there's 7 days without a community transmission in New South Wales, it's very unlikely they're going to return, because the impact of coming back to Sydney prematurely and then having to go again, it just causes an absolute nightmare for the NRL. So you'd imagine they won't be coming back unless there's 0 for an extended period of time. And look, if I was a betting man, I'd suggest the grand final will be away from Sydney for the first time.
All right, so hundreds of NRL players will be making their way to southeast Queensland over the next couple of days. One of them is Mitchell Pearce.
It's a stressful time. We can look at all the negatives around it, and that obviously is going to get a lot of people down, or you can look at the positives for us as footballers. And I know a lot of the boys are talking like that this morning coming through the doors, that we're getting paid good money, we've got a job to do. It's only going to be a short stint in the scheme of our lives. I'm sure a lot of the partners will understand, and whether they can come up or not, there's talk that the partners and kids can come and be a part of it all with us, which is obviously awesome news for them if they're open to that. But I know that, like I said before, as a Newcastle club, we're all focused on this back end of the year and doing the job for the town and us to get what we want.
Yeah, so there are plans to get staffs, families up there, players' families up there, Sowie. But how big an impact will it be for them? Because if they do get up there, they might still have to quarantine in another hotel for 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, it's going to be, I think it's already been an impact with the players or husbands and fathers having to leave. But like Mitchell just said, the players walked in this morning realising they're still getting paid fully, and it's only a short stint in the amount of their life. So the players, partners, probably, I mean, this might come out wrong, but you sort of understand what you get when you marry a football player and you realise you're going to be away from home and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, they'll be okay. Everyone will be all right. We just need to get through this little period.
Michael, do we know of any players already, or do we feel as if over the next couple of days there might be some players that come out and say they're not going to go? Well,
I think there's a few circumstances with personal issues. I think Aaron Wood spoke yesterday after the game that he's having a baby in the next few days. So there's some situations there with different players. Now, whether he goes straight away, does he stay back here with his wife, or does he decide to go after? And then you have to work out, does he get an exemption to go straight back into the bubble? Or does he have 14 days in quarantine where he can't train and play? So these are all questions. I imagine there's more than just one situation the NRL has to go through at the moment. And it's going to be complex. There's going to be stuff-ups along the way, because you're not going to get everything right when you've got so much to plan in such a short period of time. So everyone's got to be understanding of the situation, and this is not ideal, but as they said, they still have a job. They are getting away from, potentially after 14 days, they may be free to roam around Queensland, where the rest of New South Wales may be locked down for a long period of time. So they need to take the positives out of that, and I'm sure they will.
As you said, each case is individualised, and for all the Origin players that are already up in Kingscliff, a lot of their cases will be a case-by-case basis with the Queensland government. Anyway, Sean Johnson is a proud New Zealander, Kiwi. Here's what he had to say on Twitter yesterday afternoon once he found out the news that the game would be locating to Queensland. He said players and staff are already in a bubble. Why can't we relocate to New Zealand? Reward the Warriors for their sacrifice. New Zealand would love it. I think I'm onto something here. So, Michael, was there any consideration at all in taking the competition to New Zealand, and what does this mean for... Will we see games later in the year in New Zealand?
Look, I love where Sean Johnson's head's at. It's a great idea. Realistically, it just can't happen because the NRL's already taking a massive... It's going to cost them a lot of money. I think it's $13 million a month that this is going to cost. To go to New Zealand, it's not so much the money, it's the risk of what if there is an outbreak in New Zealand. We've got 16 teams over there, majority of whom live in Australia. And if there's an outbreak in New Zealand and the Australian government closed the borders and you've got players stuck there for an extended period of time, it just was going to cause a nightmare for the NRL. So Queensland was the most realistic option. You've got 2 teams already in South East Queensland, North Queensland up in Townsville, and Melbourne are no strangers to Queensland, having won a comp being based in Sunshine Coast. So it made the most sense, it was the most cost efficient, it's the way they went.
So over the next couple of weeks, there are going to be some teams that fall out of finals contention. So if they're away from home, some of them will be away from their families, no doubt. How hard will it be for them to keep their head in the game, mind on the job?
Not hard at all, because every time you go out, you're reapplying for your job, regardless of if you're on a long contract or not. And I hope those guys understand how lucky they are going into a bubble up in Queensland to keep the competition alive. A lot of people are making sacrifices for this. So if you do fall out of contention, you never know who's watching, because contracts don't mean as much as what they used to. You can get out of a contract quite easily as a player, and the club can get out of a contract quite easily, being a club if they want to move a player on. So I think everyone, you may see the football increase, the level increase the next couple of weeks, because there'll be no distractions there. They'll be all together the whole time, and you may see some upsets going forward.
And the best teams to adapt will be?
Strong cultures. As I said before, I think it's Melbourne's to lose. I've said that all year.
And they're a team that'll be at their home base.
Yeah, they just no strangers. They know how to adapt on the run. Anywhere, anytime, anyone, they'll play. And we don't know if Nathan Cleary's going to come back. They've played on the road. They know how to prepare. They know how to do same-day travel and all that kind of stuff. So I think Melbourne are red-hot favourites to win it.
You also got to consider the Penrith guys have spent a lot of time on the road already with Origin. It's going to take its toll after a while. However, they are a tight-knit unit. And we saw during the bubble last year they were pretty close. Perhaps that spending time together on the Sunshine Coast will be what they need to take the next step.
You can spend as much time as you like together. Their season rests on the number 7.
Oh, it doesn't matter, does it? It all depends on
they can live together in one room if they want. Unless the number
well, I don't think they can.
Unless the number 7 comes back the way that he went before he was injured, they ain't winning.
Okay, there are some reports today, Michael, that the Rugby League World Cup in the UK later this year will be cancelled. Is this the final challenge that will mean that it's called off?
Well, already the situation prior to this relocation that they're going through at the moment was the fact that the players, already the New Zealand players anyway, would have to go there and then come back. They've been away from home for 2 years. It's a huge ask. Also, the rest of the players in the NRL would go overseas, come back in December, have time off. And they were arguing that if you were doing a 14-day quarantine in a hotel, that shouldn't count as your 2 weeks holidays. So you wouldn't have players coming back into training until the end of February, potentially 2 weeks before the season starts. It was almost impossible. Now you add on top of that the fact that they're going to be gone, some players, for 3 months. It looks like it's all but over the World Cup.
Do we need the World Cup this year?
We need the World Cup. Does it have to be this year is the
Not
question?
this year,
no.
that's what I'm saying. Do we need it this
15
year?
of the 16 countries have agreed to play.
We've pushed the Olympics back. I'm pretty sure we can push the World Cup back again.
I don't doubt it. But 15 of the 16 have agreed to play. I'm pretty sure the ARL will put their thoughts to the IRL, to the International Rugby League in the coming days, and be unlikely we see it played this year.
All right, the NRL has been affected, and Rugby League World Cup is set to be affected. The NRLW is set to kick off in 5 weeks, Soward, if it can't, given the players can't be in a bubble. What about the idea of putting it at the end of the season after the men's competition finishes?
Yeah, 100%. Love that idea. Whoever came up with that idea, I think it was our producer, Chad, said, let's play it at the end of the year. Why not? Every year. Just have, if you want the competition and the motto is #OurWay, have it at the end of the year. Have your own coverage, have your chance. I know it extends the NRL season, and a lot of media people, it's a long season already, but if you want to do it, have a lot the AFLW, in your own time slot, have your own grand final at North Sydney Oval or at Sunshine Coast. We've seen the success that the Origin games have had there, so I think it's a great idea. And it gives them a chance to actually prepare their bodies rather than rushing through. Have a chance now to go into camp if you need be, or still continue to train and then go into a 2-week bubble before the season starts.
All right, for all those fans wanting to know how round 18 will unfold, the only thing that will change for this weekend's fixtures is where the matches will be played. So Thursday through Sunday, they will be played as is. We're still trying to work out where the games will be played though. Rounds 19 to 21, Michael, the next couple of days we'll find out exactly where they are.
What, an actual draw change?
No, there won't be team change. You won't be playing different teams.
Might be different
Very
days.
unlikely the
Different
days will
days,
change. However, they need to look into that. There's things, there's different situations you have to consider. It won't affect it this week, but the Wallabies are playing France at Suncorp on Saturday night, so you can't play games at Suncorp on Saturday. So you just need to. There's a lot to go into the draw when they work out over the next few weeks.
All right, and thanks to all the players, staff and match officials who will be relocating to southeast Queensland. Without you guys giving it the thumbs up, the game wouldn't continue. Now, State of Origin has also been affected by Sydney's outbreak of COVID-19. First, Origin 3 was scheduled to be played at Stadium Australia. Then it was moved to Newcastle. Then on Saturday night, it was moved to the Gold Coast. Now, that was heartbreaking news for so many Novocastrians, including Blues legend, Rugby League immortal, Channel 9 commentator Andrew Johns, who joins us now. Joey, thanks so much for joining us on Inside the NRL. That news, when you heard about it on Saturday night, no doubt you were heartbroken.
Yeah, I wasn't heartbroken. I was disappointed, really disappointed, but you got to put in perspective with people, small business people have lost everything. So it's a game of footy. Would have been great to have it at Newcastle, but I was disappointed, but strange times we live in.
Joey, Wednesday night, Mitchell Moses makes his Origin debut. Now, but I want to ask you, when you took the job with Brad Arthur at the Parramatta Eels, what were your thoughts on Mitchell Moses and how has that changed having worked with him over the last year and a half?
Well, I knew he had a lot of talent. I thought physically you need to probably work on his body, which he's done. But it's all about getting all the skill that he's got and bringing it all together. It seems sometimes his kicking game would be great. Then some weeks his defence would be good. And then the next week his running game. But there was games where he didn't bring it all together every week. So that's been an area of trying to work on. Also his mindset that when things don't go right for him, he doesn't fizz up and go a little bit stir crazy. But it was all there for Mitchell. It's just all about bringing it back in and then, the attention to detail, the real fundamentals of the game, continually to go over them.
Joey, you spoke about those things with Mitchell Moses. Now he has to do all that in the Origin arena and look after Jack Whiten, who hasn't been in great form in the number 6 role. How does he take care of that on Wednesday night?
Look, I think in a way, it's going to sound weird. I think you'll find Wednesday night easier than playing club level, purely because of the players around him and because of the superior forward pack for New South Wales. Look, his job on the right side, he'll play on the right side, is to get his kicking game off, organise, his edge and his edge forwards. And big thing for Mitchell is he's played a lot of footy with James Tedesco, so they know each other's game. I think when he combines with Jack Whiten, I think you'd be saying to Jack Whiten, especially in good ball, you just take him on, mate. You just use that running game and that big left foot step, and then he'll play off that. And I think Jack's advice would be, if Latrell wants the ball, give it to him early. But if there's space there, mate, just use that left foot and try to get one-on-one with Cherry Evans as much as possible, and use that great strength and footwork you got.
That was my next question with Jack Whiten. How do they use the centres now? Because they've been so instrumental, those big two centres in Latrell Mitchell and Tom Trbojevic. How do you see the style for the Blues changing on Wednesday night?
Well, I think they'll get the ball more off long shifts, especially on Latrell's side. I think Mitchell will play to the right and then open the field up to Latrell. Turbo, once again, will have that licence to roam. He'll get in around the play of the ball and get over on the left side with Latrell. But I'd like to see him get the ball a lot more on broken field at offloads and that sort of stuff. But they can play in all they want, Queensland, but this is the most devastating outside backs the Blues have ever had. They have strike. They complement each other. Ta'o just runs so hard and makes all the hard yards, and then you got freaks like Turbo and Latrell, and then you got probably one of the best the best finisher in the game at Addo Carr. So there's just so much strike there. So it's up to the halves to get them the ball in the right situations.
Joey, you were part of the Blues' last whitewash back in the year 2000. If the Blues pull it off this year, they'll have to do it by winning 3 games on enemy territory. If they do, will they automatically be considered the greatest Blues team ever?
Look, I don't think so. Look, I think that the team of the early 90s, 92, 93, 94, which they won those series, and they had Laurie Daly, a lot of those Canberra guys, Daly, Stewart, Mullins, Bradley, Clyde, Lazarus, all those. I think that was probably, in my opinion, the best team. If this team stays together and hopefully wins 2, 3, 4 series, then we can say then. But I think they're a little bit way to go. But I think that early 90s team, for me, was probably the best team.
Joey, what have you made of DCE and Cameron Munster's series so far? They've been pretty quiet. You're looking for them to have a big game and a big impact if they are to cause an upset.
Yeah, they've been poor, I thought, but on the back of a Queensland forward pack which has just been totally smashed in both games, led by Daniel Safidi in the first 2 games was just sensational. And then on the back of him, you got Junior Paulo and Payne Haas. It's like good luck controlling those 3. Go for it. So on the back of that, they've really struggled to get any time. But the great ones, Wally Lewis, Langer, these players, they find a way. You know, they can be, especially Wally Lewis, you know, his forwards can be getting smashed, but he still holds the key to the result and just imposes himself on the game. At the moment, Cherry Evans isn't doing that. Munster's not doing it. So it's up to them two about trying to lift and drive their team to victory.
Joey, your Channel 9 stablemate Paul Vaughton, he threw a hospital pass to Billy Slater over the weekend. He revealed on ABC that Billy was approached to coach Queensland, and then a month later they asked him to come in for an interview, and he didn't take too kindly to that. I just want your thoughts on Billy Slater. You've known him quite well. You've watched him over the years. Is he ready to coach an Origin team?
I don't think so. Not yet. I think he needs a little bit more time. Look, tactically, there's probably no smarter fullback who's played the game. Well, Billy's changed the way fullbacks play with how great he was. But I just think it's a big ask for Billy to bring it all together. He hasn't had really any experience as a coach. And look, tactically, it's all fine. But the key is at Origin, it's that man management, bringing superstar players in to create a superstar team. And I just think it's a big ask for Billy. I don't think he needs that pressure so close to when he's retired. I don't think, give it a couple of years, 2, 3, 4 years, and then have a go then.
Joe, the talk about bringing Billy and JT and Cam together, is that realistic in a setup to have dominant voices, or do you need a recognised coach for the Queenslanders going forward?
No, I don't think. Look, in the future, I think those 3 would work sensationally together, but it's just a big ask. They've only been retired for a year or 2, and they've had no real experience about pulling a team together, as I said, of superstar players with different sort of egos and different mannerisms and personalities. Bringing that together is a real challenge, and I think you need experience at it. That's why Wayne won last year. If you look at the teams on paper last year, you gave Queensland no chance, but Wayne brought them together.
Joey, where are the Blues vulnerable on Wednesday night, stopping them from getting the clean sweep?
I just think it's the mentality of New South Wales if they go in a little bit underdone. And I just can't see really any weaknesses in their team. I just think it just comes down to mentally how they prepare. If they're prepared, then I can't see Queensland beating them. I know it's in Queensland, but Seabus Stadium there at the Gold Coast, it's a rock-hard surface. It's a fast surface. So if we get an even share of possession, 50% or even a little bit more, they just can't hold us.
Joey, thanks so much for joining us on Inside the NRL. Stay safe. As you said, it's a crazy world we live in at the moment. And in your sake, I guess, go the Blues on Wednesday night.
It's feed time in the Johns house.
It sounds like it. You better get to it. We'll leave you to it.
See you, boys.
Thank you. And of course, you can catch Joey and the Nine Gang live and exclusive for State of Origin Game 3 on Channel 9 on Wednesday night.
I never get sick and tired of that, talking to the greats of the game. Billy Slater, Andrew Johns, we've had the Pearl. I love that stuff. I get nervous talking to them.
You get nervous, imagine.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, as the older I've gotten, I know I've played. I mean, I never got to play against Joey, but talking to JT and these guys, it's still pretty nerve-wracking.
All right, it's time to talk all things Queensland ahead of Game 3 again. Another disrupted preparation. The Queensland culture has been questioned given Jai Arrow's decision to bring an unregistered guest back to the team hotel. After not fielding questions about that on Friday, the coach fronted the media today.
When people criticise your culture, that does hurt because, as JT said, it's the culture's been set for 40 years. It's not just the last 2 games since I've been head coach. We've got experienced staff. We've got 3 guys who've played 30-plus games, staff that have been involved for 6 or 7 years. So, that hurts. And when we get results that we've gotten so far, you leave yourself open to be questioned in those areas.
Now, in the past, Sowie, the Maroons have had the ability to silence the critics and silence the doubters, but do they have the might to do it on Wednesday night?
No. I look at the post-match conferences with Dalichir Evans and Paul Green. They've missed something in their preparation this year because they just don't even look like they're on the same page. You watch their attack, it looks disorganised. They don't look like they've played together or know what each other's done throughout the week in training. And I listened to that press conference there, and I don't. This is nothing personal against Paul Green. I don't even know him, but would Jai Arrow have done that last year under Wayne Bennett? The culture problem has changed. You can have as many experienced guys as you like, but at the head of the snake, if he hasn't set the standard, that's how they've played. They've played pretty much like that little snippet that we just heard there, not really sure about what they're doing. They go out there and sure, they tried hard for 10 minutes in Game 2, but they got blown off the park after that.
Well, Zac, you asked about silencing the critics. That's what they've done. Not only have they not silenced the critics, they've fueled the fire by the way they've handled. It's been embarrassing the way they've handled the series. They brought Kalen Ponga into Game 1 when he was no chance of playing, and Newcastle, I think, relayed that to them. He wasn't a chance of playing. We had the Ronaldo Mulitalo drama, which they can blame whoever they want, but at the end of the day, they should have done their homework on him and he should not have been able to play throughout that period, the 18s and 20s. Then you had the Jai Arrow situation, and then you got the fact they played terribly in Game 1 and 2. It's just been an absolute debacle since they came into camp in Game 1. And whether you say it's cultural or not, it's not a cultural thing. They've been together probably 14 days in total, and they're coming from all different clubs. But the way it's been handled,
but it's never going to be a culture thing. This is a preparation.
Exactly, it's a preparation.
Is 6 weeks. All right, you've got to build your own culture as a head coach for 6 weeks. All right, now everyone's look at New South Wales, and again, I've been lucky enough to play under Wayne Bennett. State of Origin is a mindset for 6 weeks. Your culture's set by your head coach. Your standards are set by your head coach. When you come into camp, now the Queensland have had some of the best players that we've ever had. And for a long time, they'd roll into camp, hey Cam, hey Billy, how you going? Cool, let's get a coffee and talk about how we're going to beat the Blues. They don't have that luxury anymore. They look like they haven't prepared for the series.
But do you feel sometimes when you have a coach like Wayne Bennett, unfair as it is on Paul Green, it's like they were flying first class and all of a sudden they have to fly economy and they're not happy about it. It doesn't seem like they're on...
The players?
Yeah, the players. If you have that experience under Wayne, is it hard to...
Don't you follow your leaders in that situation?
Well, Sally, if you said that this wouldn't happen under Wayne Bennett, you don't think the Jai Arrow situation or these things would happen under Wayne Bennett, what does that say about their respect for Paul Green?
Well, actions speak louder than words. That's just right there. I mean, you look at the list that Chammas came up with in terms of what's happened for him this series. Not only Cameron Munster and Harry Grant didn't play footy that first month going into the first game. So, I just think that maybe they don't respect Paul Green as a coach. Maybe they're not happy that... I mean, last year you had Wayne Bennett, you win the unwinnable series, and then you have no momentum this year, and you talk about we missed the jump and we're not prepared. Like that should have been the pinnacle of some of those guys' careers. Bouncing into this year, we can do it again, boys. Let's silence them again. And like Chammas said, they haven't silenced anyone.
The Queensland team, when they dominated, were far better than New South Wales on paper, but New South Wales never gave up.
But you shouldn't have to get to Game 3 to name your best side of the series. This is their best side of the series.
Oh, the situation's led to that. I defend them a little bit. There's been injuries throughout, obviously with Harry Grant being injured. They have had a difficult time of it, but they've compounded it by their decision making and the preparation they've had.
I'll say this lastly. Did they go into the series with the 7-6 for Australia?
Yeah.
Into the series?
They did.
Right. Are they the 7-6 for Australia right
We didn't
now?
play last year. They wouldn't have been the 7-6 for Australia last year.
I'm just saying, did they go in this year? With Munster and
they
Cherry
did.
Evans? Are they playing like that?
No.
All right. Just a quick one to finish it off, Michael. Does Paul Green's future hang on the result or the way the Maroons play on Wednesday night?
I think it's the
Thurston's
result.
coming.
They need to pull off a miracle win for him to have any chance of... I know he's got a contract, but anyone north of the border watching right now would agree that it's been embarrassing the way they've played. So
Stop sitting on the fence. They have to win to save his job.
Okay, all
Thank
right.
you, sir.
And in some news this afternoon, Cohen Hess has been called into the Maroons squad to be part of their extended squad for Game 3. All right, it's time now for this week's Casualty Ward, brought to you by Chemist Warehouse. Now, this might be the best casualty ward of the year. Injuries were thankfully kept to a minimum in round 17. The Raiders lost Anamas Louis early in their win over the Sea Eagles, with Ricky Stewart suggesting he could miss a fortnight with a calf issue. On the opposite side, the Sea Eagles lost Toff Sipley late with an apparent shoulder issue. In better news for Des Hasler, Jake Trebojevic and Josh Schuster may be fit for their clash with the Dragons this week. The Eels could be boosted by the return of hooker Reid Marnie, and the Knights may have a couple of big guns back for their trip to Melbourne, with Daniel Saifidi a chance to return from a rib injury and Tyson Frizzell from ankle surgery. Adam O'Brien could also have Bradman Best back from his own ankle issue in the next fortnight. All right, it's now time for Hit or Miss. Now, there was a staggering response to this across social media. I could not believe how many people were hammering this bloke. Anyway, it was his final play, Sam Walker, against the Bulldogs. He was smart, not arrogant, for running away from a determined Bulldogs outfit in the final stages of that match, Sowie.
Hit. Loved it. Love cats that are different and do it different ways. Yep, sure, it's going to annoy a lot of people, but if you don't like it, the Bulldogs had 79 minutes throughout that game to get a different result, and it was really smart play. Sure, it's going to annoy some people because that's not what they grew up watching, but I loved it. I think you're judged on wins or losses in this business, and if that's what it did to secure the game, look at Luke Keary there. Boyd Cordner, he's an old forward, he probably doesn't like it, but I loved it.
I'm with Sowie. Hit for me. Look, I don't mind it. I think when I saw it, I didn't watch the game live. I was busy. I watched the replay and I saw that and I started laughing out loud. I thought it was funny. A cheeky halfback, a young kid, a bit of personality. Don't mind it. I'll say this though. The Roosters are the alpha male of rugby league. It wasn't an alpha male move. It was, you'd expect that from someone from Canterbury, holding on to a win. Like they were playing the Bulldogs. That's just no disrespect to Canterbury, but for the Roosters to do that,
a better team. No,
but
2
I'm
points.
just, you know what I mean. I'm
hit or miss?
It's not the Roosters. Hey, listen to what I said. Hit at the start.
Right.
It's just, I'm telling you now, it won't happen again though. That's all I'm saying. I can guarantee you, Sam Walker will never do that again.
Keep doing it, Sammy.
He might not do it again, but for anyone else watching that, instead of taking those carries with 30 seconds to go with the game on the line, run it dead. You got 30 seconds up your sleeve.
And even when the ball goes dead, isn't it 30-second shot clock?
Yeah.
Exactly. Run it
days.
dead, kick it dead, whatever. All right, moving on. All 3 State of Origin games next year in 2022 should be played in New South Wales.
Miss. If you're not going to give the New Zealand Warriors a full year over there back at home after what they've sacrificed, New South Wales can't have 3 games in Sydney. As much as I'd like to, because I get to go to 3 games, but I don't think that they'd do that.
Yeah, it's a miss for me. Like we're on the verge of New South Wales winning 3 games in Queensland. What do you want to bring them all to New South Wales next year?
Well, maybe that's the key for the Maroons. They need them here.
The NRL need a tight Origin series, and they're playing 3 games in New South Wales.
They get 2 next year anyway, don't they?
Well, it depends if they go. I think they are locked in to go on the road next year, actually. I don't know if Adelaide or Perth had been locked in. There's definitely plans to go on the road for at least 1 game. You can't play them all here with that team. Nah, it can't happen.
Okay, Alex Johnston has scored 13 tries in his past 5 matches. I bet the Bunnies are happy they didn't let him go at the end of last year. He's on track to become the first player in the NRL era to score 30 or more tries in a season. He has 128 from 160 games, and he's just 26 years of age. With all of that in mind, Alex Johnston will pass Ken Irvine's record of 212 tries to become the greatest try scorer in the game's history. Michael.
I am going to say hit. And I'll tell you what, the MC Hammers fantasy team is killing it right now thanks to Alex Johnson. Back-to-back captaining. Just a little shout-out to the Hammers there. But yes, he will pass Ken Irvine by the time he finishes his career. He'll at least finish second, but I think he'll pass Ken Irvine.
He needs 85, Sowie?
Miss.
Ooh.
Yeah,
26? Why won't he?
Their team's going to go through a little bit of a change over the next couple of years. No Adam Reynolds, so maybe they'll have to change their attack, whether he gets the amount of freedom or not. He may go on and score 300 tries the way he's playing at the moment, but I'm just going to say miss just to be different. I can't keep agreeing with him.
That's fair.
So
You don't like him, so I can see that.
Don't like you.
Yeah,
I like Alex Johnson. He's fantastic to watch.
13 tries in 5 weeks. Simply sensational.
Outstanding. Some bad defence though.
If the rules don't change, he could get close to 250. He could.
So what's that? Hold on, how many has he got? 128. So he'd have to score.
Well, he's halfway through his career potentially.
Speed is the key. He needs to keep his
lose that
speed.
ball.
All right, time for Champ or Chump because things are getting out of hand here. And speaking of out of hand, we thought they were out of hand at Cogra yesterday afternoon when the Sharkies took on the Warriors. Braden Hamlin-Uele. I was thinking to myself, did he just deck his teammate? And then it turned into the greatest, arguably the greatest post-try celebration of all time. It's all part of Try July Sportsbet's campaign, and it earned $10,000 for the Mossy Masoi Foundation. So John Hopewadi tried to do it back in the early thousands. Matt Adamson came through, pushed him out of the way. So he did what Hopper couldn't do all those years ago. So the current tally, $115,000 for the Mossy Masoi Foundation. You're calling on $1 million. The players have got to get behind this.
Yeah, and the players from the Sharks did well to let him execute the post-try celebration. That's worth 50 though. That was very good.
All right, we'll get on to our mate.
He got 3 weeks. He's got to go to the judiciary.
Yeah, I was going to say, if he hit his head there, would he have been facing time?
He did hit him, just slightly.
If he's on your own team, doesn't mean you escape sanction. He should have been.
All right, please. A shout out to the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs who gave a shout out of their own to all of the frontline health workers for doing all they have in the fight against COVID-19. It was a great touch and we support their stance. Thank you so much to everyone who's been on the front line doing everything they can. So that was a really good touch. Now to the Chump of the week. His name's Moses Sully. The phrase is eye on the ball, not head on the ball. Dunk.
Well, this is what happens when you...
Desi would not be happy with this, Sally.
No.
It leads to a try. What's doing?
I think it's actually Ruben Garrick's fault. He needed to be more aggressive at the ball. What a season he's having. He might score. He's going to break the point scoring record this year.
You're a big Ruben Garrick fan, aren't you?
Massive Ruben Garrick fan.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay, and I think we have one more Chump of the week. It's not you, Sowie.
Thank goodness.
Michael Chammas, you have been absolutely killing it, I must say that. Sydney Morning Herald, Channel 9, stay across those two platforms for all of your rugby league news, as well as NRL.com. But
yeah, here we go.
Just before primetime news yesterday, I was watching the end of the footy and I was like, oh, what's Michael up to today? Well, he's in the newsroom for Channel 9 and... You're having a little bit of a trouble with your mask, firstly.
Yeah.
Then the mic... You've knocked your mic off. It ends up sliding down to around your waist. Now, great breaking news. It didn't distract you, but over the nose, moving forward.
Champion, when you talk as good as me, even the mask wants to run away.
Seriously, look at your mic. You were dishevelled. Awful.
Having more on my face, we might get a few more viewers onto this show.
Don't forget to tune into NRL teams tomorrow afternoon. Neve Owens is back alongside Brett Kamali and Robbie Farah from 3:55 p.m. They'll have the latest team news as the teams drop at 4 p.m. for round 18. Thanks, gents. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Jamie.
Blues by 10.
Okay.
Wednesday, 3-0.
But they will be... They will be aiming to take out their first State of Origin clean sweep in 21 years in State of Origin 3 Wednesday night. They've been clinical in games 1 and 2. Here's the story of the series so far.
Comes to the heartland. Long ball away. Cleary on. Here's Trebojevic. He gets the first try of the night.
From the kickoff, we weren't in the contest.
Mitchell's away again. It's a try for Mitchell.
The way they played just makes you proud as a coach. just a real great performance.
Nathan Cleary away again. He's got Tedesco on his inside.
He's away, Tedesco, and a flash. Trebojevic! He has been in everything.
Wow. We all just stayed together. We all just went after the challenge and just felt confident.
It's finished with the Blues winning 50 points to 6.
Tonight's damage was pretty big, but it is only 1-0. So I know the scoreline reflects pretty poorly upon us, but we can turn the tide. But they've got a lot of momentum in their corner and we've got a lot of work to do.
I'm quite aware that winning a game by 50 here in the first game doesn't mean anything. We haven't won at Suncorp for 3 years now, so that's the challenge.
For any short week, preparation-wise, are you confident you guys have done enough?
Yeah, we won't know till tomorrow night, but I'm happy with the week we had. Certainly far less disruptions compared to the first one, so yeah, I'm happy with where we're at.
He was all smiles as he arrived at Suncorp Stadium. Now Reece Walsh has officially been ruled out of Game 2. The 18-year-old fullback suffered a hamstring injury at the Maroons' final training session, crushing his childhood dream. Another Origin rookie, Ronaldo Mulitalo, will debut on the wing.
I want to get your thoughts on what's happened with Mulitalo. It's pretty heartbreaking for him.
I feel very sorry for Ronaldo. It shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened just before the game. We received an inquiry questioning the eligibility of Ronaldo. We investigated it and we sought information from the Queensland Rugby League to provide evidence that he does qualify. They couldn't provide that evidence, so they withdrew Ronaldo from tonight's match.
One wants the shield, the other, survival. Here's the kickoff. Origin 2 is underway. Oh, big hit. A really good chance for the Blues. Cleary away. Tedesco in. And Oka, here goes the Fox. Intercepted by Mitchell.
Big moments, big players, superstars stand up.
And Oka sprints. Here comes Tommy again. His 9th Origin try. So they claim the shield, an absolutely white-hot New South Wales side.
They're licking their lips at the opportunity for 3-0, and I think we've got to be motivated by the fact that this has all happened and we can stop the bleeding.